protesting.
So when these protesters are yelling freedom and enough, there are people within the administration who think they're saying freedom from rising COVID cases.
Again, I would say that when people are out there in the streets protesting and complaining about the lack of access to economic prosperity, to the medical supplies they need, to a life they deserve to live, that can take on a range of meanings. There's a global pandemic right now.
What we really need to do at this point is to make vaccination the easy choice. It needs to be hard for people to remain unvaccinated.
They have outsourced government ethics to an art dealer. She mentioned industry standards. It's an industry that's notorious for money laundering. This would be a perfect mechanism for funneling bribes to that president.
You don't say. Really? What are the chances that would ever happen? I don't think I like the
I don't think Hunter would be involved in something like that. Some kind of pay for play scheme. That seems unlikely.
No, he would not trade on influence ever. In this White House, these people, a lot of holders for the Obama administration, are completely ethical. So out of transparency, and we talked about this last night, but in the spirit of transparency, and that's, what's his name, who we just heard? That's Walt Schaub, former Obama ethics chief. He's not just buying the horse bleep that Jen Psaki tried to feed us a couple of days ago on this, saying that the way they're going to make sure that influence is not traded here for Hunter Biden is that Hunter, won't know who's buying the art, and the administration won't know.
Right.
So only the vaunted pillar of ethics named the art dealer, he'll know. And so that way the administration Hunter won't know if somebody's trying to buy favor with his dad, buy favor with his dad. And so out of full transparency, says Jen Psaki, they're not going to disclose any information that happens. And there's no way that somebody could communicate to Joe Biden that they just gave his son $500,000 outside of
No, it's not like they could invite him over to their house
or
and
send an
see
email,
the piece of art hanging on the wall.
Or send an email to anybody in the communications staff, or have a go-between mention it whatsoever.
I mean, they could literally take out an ad in a magazine saying that they bought Hunter Biden's art. We're just depending on this very weak firewall of the gallerist to keep it secret. And hopefully the influence buyer won't try to let them know.
And it's complete gaslighting too. And let's just play this again. This is what we played yesterday, but listen to the reporter's question and Psaki's answer.
Hunter Biden's artwork. Did the White House play any role in crafting the sales agreement with the New York Gallery?
What was the question?
Did the White House play any role in crafting the sales agreement with the New York Gallery?
Good question.
To protect the purchasers or the ultimate purchaser's identity.
Once again, what was the question?
To protect the ultimate purchaser.
What was the question, though?
Did the White House play any role in crafting the arrangement with the with the New York Gallery to protect the purchaser's identity?
Correct. Well done, Alice. Let's listen to the answer.
Well, I can tell you that after careful consideration, a system has been established that allows for Hunter.
I would say.
What do you know? I went down on Christmas morning, and there were presents under the tree. What do you know? Walked downstairs this morning, and a system has been established. It just self-established. It just it spawned a system. So did the White House establish a system? A system has been established. It just has been established. I don't know. See, there wasn't one before, so I don't know. I'm not saying we established it. I'm saying a system has been established.
For Biden to work in his profession within reasonable safeguards. Of course, he has the right to pursue an artistic career.
Why would this be a function of somebody's job at the White House? Why would this be a function? Whose job is it to make sure the son's art is sold in a way that doesn't influence? Whose job is it to make that system? And that system is to say, oh, hey, you, gallerist, whoever you are, You're in charge of ethics. You're the inspector general of all the ethics happening here.
Yeah, the legal counsel on ethics for Hunter Biden.
Right. You are going to make sure that there's no influence made, gestures made towards the president of the United States.
Just make
because
sure it's
somewhere
not any...
in Soho you run a shop that sells his idiotic paintings. This is remarkable. This is remarkable.
Just like any child of a president has the right to pursue a career, but all interactions regarding the selling of art.
Yeah, what happened, by the way, to Chelsea Clinton's quote-unquote career, to her profession working in that preeminent charity, the Clinton Global Initiative, when Hillary Clinton was not elected president, and so there was no more influence to be purchased.
Mm-hmm. Well, did it go away?
The Clinton Global Initiative?
Yes.
Yeah, it did. And Chelsea's job went away, too. The whole thing went away. That's when she became like a pundit contributor person and stuff, too.
That was short-lived, too. She's not an overly talented person. She's not talented like Hunter.
But the whole thing, I mean, like, that's exactly like any other president's kid. That's exactly the problem, right? Is because we have an issue with adult children. And I mean, my friends on the left all had an issue with adult children of presidents making a buck on their lineage for the past 4 years. But now apparently there is absolutely no problem. Hunter Biden's doing very serious art. Like, that's not, how dare you suggest it?
Well, but now, in the spirit of transparency, we're hiding the transactions.
Right.
This old game is so damn obvious. I just wonder who gets it first. Who's going to get it first? Will it be Jonathan Swan? Who will bust this wide open first? This is so... You know who it could be? This is my theory.
Okay.
Someone in the vice president's office says, hey, Tucker, this guy just bought one of Biden's paintings. That's what's going to happen. This is so incredible.
Yeah,
The setting of prices will be handled by a professional gallerist adhering to the highest industry standards, and any offer
In fact, like we mentioned last night, that she's reading this, total legalese means that they said, we got a problem here, and we better make this thing bulletproof.
the normal course would be rejected out of hand, and the gallerist will not share information about buyers or prospective buyers, including their identities with Hunter Biden or the administration, which provides quite a level of protection and transparency.
That's quite a level?
Mm-hmm. What is an offer outside the normal course for the painting of a recovering crack addict who has no artistic training?
Well, like I said, they've set the level, Alice. Course? Like I said yesterday, they set the level at $500,000. So $500,000 is not out of the realm. They planted these stories that somehow these could be worth thoughtful stories. Remember a month ago saying his stuff could be worth like $50,000 to $500,000. You know, they planted these seeds out there, and so now for our discourse, that's just about fair. That's about fair. I get the feeling they're going to be going for closer to 500 than 50.
All right. The gallery owner is a private citizen who might not be privy to who might have some interests in purchasing this artwork. Is the White House doing anything to work with the owner to make sure there's not impropriety there when it is ultimately sold?
Well, I think it would be challenging for an anonymous person who we don't know and Hunter Biden doesn't know to have influence. So that's a protection.
Right. So, yes, it would be. But they're not going to have that problem because they're going to know. They're going to know. It's going to be all... Bob Olinsky's going to be involved again. Okay? Don't tell me that... Incredible. It isn't... So what they've done to try to show us how clean and uncorrupt Hunter Biden is and Joe Biden is now, is that in front of us, they've set up a system for corruption. Right in front of us. That's like really simple. Now, I didn't know before how I could influence Joe Biden. Now I do. Well, we don't have any money, but if we did, I would know now. Everybody now knows. You're going to have some shitty-looking art in hanging behind from very powerful people very quickly. It's remarkable to me. So here's this guy. Listen to this. This is horrifically devastating for these guys. This is the guy on CNN who we just played. What was it? Walter Schaub, Obama's guy, ethics guy, who just torpedoes this.
Schaub is the former head of the Office of Government Ethics under President Obama. Walter, thanks for being with us. So some of those safeguards put in place are neither Hunter Biden nor the public will know who bid on or purchased the work. And if there's unusual behavior like the offer being too high, the collector doesn't appear to be interested, the gallery is expected to turn down the offer.
He's laughing now.
You don't think that's enough. Why?
No, I mean, they have outsourced government ethics to an art dealer. She mentioned industry standards. It's an industry that's notorious for money laundering. There's no standards in that industry. And the idea that they're going to flag any overly priced offers, well, this is art that hasn't even been juried into a community art sale. How are they going to decide what's unreasonable when they've already priced it in the range of $75,000 to $500,000 for a first outing? This is just preposterous and very disappointing.
And Walter, just explain, why would the White House be the intermediary?
That's a good question,
for the
CNN.
Art sale? I mean, I think that what Jen Psaki was saying was that they thought that this would be a way to head off any ethical concerns, but you're shaking your head.
Yeah, they've absolutely made it worse for two reasons. One, what they've done is ensured that neither you nor I nor anyone watching this show will know who buys the art unless they share it publicly. But there's nothing that we can do to monitor to make sure that Hunter Biden or anyone in the White House doesn't find out, that the dealer keeps his or her promise, that the buyers don't call the White House, ask for a meeting, and say, hey, I just bought the president's son's art for $500,000.
He's saying exactly what we were saying. That's exactly what we were saying.
Judge whether or not they were getting preferential treatment. The problem is, now they've set a precedent for the next president. And even if you happen to trust Joe Biden, what if the next president has the character of a Donald Trump? This would be a perfect mechanism for funneling bribes to that president.
Walter, that's really interesting, because those words that this is going to be...
Walter, that's really interesting.
I sense that Don Jr. is going to take up art. We're going to
All
be
of them.
getting Instagram posts of him at his
Don
easel
Jr.
with a very thoughtful expression on his face in front of a painting somebody else made, and
Yes.
told he's about to have a very impressive gallery show.
I'm going to have a Baron original here. Absolutely. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? This is so crooked. It's so wonderful that they have busted them on this. That I love it, because you know that Hunter's going to immediately start selling influence.
Of course.
Immediately.
That's what he's done his whole... It's the only thing
Right.
he has ever done his whole life.
Yes, that is his. That
Sell
is his
his
thing.
father's influence.
So back to CNN. This is Dr. Lena Webb. We didn't play this yesterday.
Leanna Wen, no.
Leanna Wen. Okay. Telling you that the vaccination process, if you're a holdout, is about to get painful.
What we really need to do at this point is to make vaccination the easy choice. It needs to be hard for people to remain unvaccinated. Right now, it's kind of the opposite. It's fine. I mean, it's easy if you're unvaccinated. You can do everything you want to do anyway. But at some point, these mandates by workplaces, by schools, I think it will be important to say, hey, you can opt out, but if you want to opt out, you have to sign these forms. You have to get twice weekly testing. Basically, we need to make getting vaccinated the easy choice. That is what it's going to take for us to actually end the pandemic.
So obviously she's a gross bully, and they're all saying now we need the mandates, mandates to for herd immunity, whatever. I'd like to know. Obviously, she's a monster. That's fine, but so there are cases are going up.
Yes.
And the new variant, you probably haven't heard. There's a Delta variant. That's very.
Is it the Delta or the Delta Plus? Or
Oh, is that one?
Delta Super Plus Ultra
Delta
variant?
QBT plus questioning pan. So my feeling on this analysis, I don't know if this sounds odd to you, but my feeling on this is, who cares?
Yeah, at this point,
what do you want to do? If half the country is willing to roll the dice on the vaccine, well then, bon chance.
You've been touting to us that 99.2% of the people who died of COVID in May were unvaccinated. So it seems like the vaccine is pretty darn effective.
Mm-hmm.
So if people don't want to get vaccinated at this point, like, okay, that's on you. It kind of sucks. And like, but that's the country we live in. Is we live in a country where we don't make people do things that only affect themselves. You know, like that's, we don't care if people want, and they're not, you know, spreading it to vaccinated people. If you want to get vaccinated, get vaccinated. If you don't, then don't. Like, end of discussion. I mean, I think the vaccine seems like it's very safe and effective, and I would go for it. In particular, the mRNA ones. They did just announce that there is a slightly heightened risk of Guillain-Barré syndrome with Johnson & Johnson today from the vaccine. But, I mean, like, even that, it's still so rare that it's, like, not that big a thing compared to the risks of COVID itself. So, I mean, like, up to you. You look at the facts, you take your chances, that's your life, and, like, go for it. But it's not, like, my fault then if you die from it. Like, you're gonna go make them get tested twice a week and make their life uncomfortable because they're risking their own lives? Like, it's not worth it. It's not worth the energy. It's not worth our taxpayer dollars. It doesn't affect anyone except them. And like, that's it. I mean, like, I don't mind a little bit of a public messaging campaign, even though they're dumb. We do them with everything. Like, go out and get vaccinated. It's safe and fun, and you can make out with people again. Like, you know, that's what they do, and that's fine. But, like, knocking on doors, they're talking now. Politico just had a story that's reporting that they're going to employ more fact-checking groups to more aggressively go after misinformation about vaccines over social media and text messages.
Ooh.
They're going to have the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, work with SMS carriers, that's text messaging, to weed out vaccine disinformation in texts.
That's great. That's great.
So we've gone from
what else shall be weeded out quickly? I wonder.
We're not going to go door to door trying to make you get vaccinated. How dare you suggest that that's possibly sinister? Meanwhile, for our next vaccination initiative, we're going to be checking up on your text messages and making sure you aren't saying anything negative about the vaccine over text.
My goodness. The Republicans have a victim complex. Keep claiming that we're using intel services against them and that Tucker is lying about this. Like, yeah, we just need to see your text messages for this, that, or the other thing. You know, don't worry about it. We probably won't unmask you. We'll see.
Fine. We'll just check which Lego sets you bought recently, and then we'll let you know.
Speaking of that,
and the FBI was tweeting yesterday to check up on your family members to make sure they're not veering towards extremism. Like, screw you. Get out of my freaking life. And the Capitol Police, too. Did you see that story?
They're going in every state.
They're opening new offices across the country. The Capitol. Stay in the Capitol.
Yes.
Stay there. We don't need another intelligence agency. If the ones we have all suck, you're not going to solve any problems by adding another one.
That means federal vehicles outside every... Oh, God. Come on.
Go away.
So speaking of that, Alice, you were on Jerry again today?
Oh, yes, I was.
So I think that the next time you're on...
Okay.
Because you did a good job producing today. Except... the next time you're on, I think that you have to get involved in the conversation.
More?
Absolutely more. Absolutely. Don't let him circle around.
It's Jerry's show.
No, but when you see, that's a good sign of a good producer. When you notice that the show at times isn't taking flight, at times, any show, including this show, any show, then everybody grabs a rifle and goes in. So I have changed from listening to today's. That is what I've decided. I thought it was a fine show, but you are equipped with as much knowledge about all of these things as anybody else.
I just feel like if people want to hear me, they can go tune into my podcast or this podcast. But people tune into the Jerry Callahan podcast to hear Jerry Callahan. So
but you
if he asks me something, or I feel like I can add something specific, then I do.
I think you got to get in there because I think that he's a guy who not only acts but reacts, so he can react to you more as well. And there are some areas where if he's going over it and he's not hitting pay dirt.
Yep.
where I think that you can, and you've got the stuff right there to do it,
Okay.
and to be all in. And that was my take from today. I think you're very dutiful and very good. I love your voice on it, but I think there's areas where you're right, and it's very tough for you because, but like me and like Turtle Boy, we're big, loud, fat idiots, So we're going to go in there and be even though I too he goes a long time without stopping, so I too. Find myself sometimes like saying, okay, he's still going, he's doing his thing, but definitely try to get in there and fire it up a little bit. But I just think that, the takes that you have right now, if you have takes, you should throw the takes out there, unless he tells you not to. Because
I can ask him what his feedback is about
well,
it too.
oh yeah, absolutely, because
because it's his show, not yours.
Well, that's right.
Speaking.
No, I know, but my feeling is this: is that if there's not another guest in there, then you fill the void. That's what I think.
Okay.
Are you mad at me?
No,
Yes, you are.
No, I like your feedback. I have another question though.
Yes.
Which is, so you've listened to the last couple. What did you think about the sound production aspect? Because that's like one thing that I kind of don't necessarily exactly know what I'm doing, except what I've picked
I have
up
criticisms on this.
Okay, I want to know.
I thought the sound that was level was lovely and mixed. Well, the only thing I would have changed is perhaps his intro would have been a pinch higher,
louder,
pinch louder.
Okay.
Intro music, and the other thing was
intro music.
Intro music.
Oh, okay.
And the other thing was, and this is from doing a lot of multi-track, and I'm really nitpicking here. Nobody notices this stuff, but only me. Okay. I thought it sounds nice and crisp and clean. So something you're doing is wonderful there. But the only other thing is, and this is tiny, and people are gonna think I'm a jerk for saying this.
I want to
know. Is that when he finishes his intro, it should be seamless. The last word of his intro, that's where the music should start.
Okay.
It should not be last word of his intro, nanosecond, then music. It should go right the moment he's hitting that last thing, boom, that music's starting. Which is just something that I've been doing forever. Just that this is a tiny thing, but something to me that I heard that it was just
there was a little hesitation with the timing,
just a tiny bit. So the waveforms, you and I look at waveforms. I think that's how you do it in that, right?
Yep.
The waveforms should cross a tiny little nub for a moment. When I play this stuff, where I play those little news montages, or whatever, and it's got 5 seconds of bad news in Glastonbury this morning. It looks like crime is happening, spiking again, on again, and the second half of the word again, the music is started. So, and the only other thing is, and I know you know this, is, should I stop talking? Am I in trouble?
No, I was looking at other compliments about my performance today on Twitter that somebody was tweeting at me at the same time.
I think you did a job. I just know you, and unlike last time when those guys were together, so it was two, and they didn't. Today, I thought that would have been that you could have grabbed a gun and gone to the front line a little bit with him. Although, once again, you had your role as a producer.
Right.
But the only other thing is, and I know that you're going to know this, is to try to be more Johnny on the spot with the video that he wanted. Because today he wanted the Biden, Joe.
Yeah, but I didn't know that before.
No, I know.
I went and got that video off Twitter.
I know, and I know that you got to go find it. You got to make sure there's not pre-roll. You got to do whatever, feed it into the thing and whatever like that. But it's just something to keep in mind. I don't know how that looks and how to do it, but it was out of the blue. But so then that's
I had to download the video and then upload it into the player.
I know. So that's the thing too.
Yeah, no,
I don't even know how you'd call that. See, you also don't have the advantage of having been the producer when that first came out. So Culline's got that sitting in his hard drive somewhere.
Right, on the folder, already.
Right, already. So it's right there for him. So it's unfair. So it's tough. Because then that puts you in a tough position of him having moved on from that.
Right.
And then dropping it. And I've been the producer, and I know exactly how that feels.
But I thought I segued a little bit back to it in an okay way.
Yes, you did. And also, it was all... the whole conversation was kind of related as well, because it was him doddering and him and Kamala and this and that, etc. But But that's it. I thought it's funny. I thought that the audio quality was so good that it made me wonder if I should be compressing this all the time. This is very inside
Do
baseball.
you not compress ours all the time?
I do. I compress
Okay.
it all the time.
Oh.
But what was yours compressed?
Yeah, I did compress it.
Under a broadcast?
I just did whatever was the default settings under multiband compressor.
Well, that's great. Well, maybe I
And
should
I
do
did, if stuff seemed like it was off, like the ads or whatever, in
Mhm.
terms, I amplified things that seemed like they were low compared to other stuff a little bit.
that. Post compression or
Before. I amplified first
Okay.
and then compressed. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it seems intuitively like the order that made sense to me.
Wow, I really thought that the sound sounded very, very clear and crisp. I definitely could tell the difference. But that was it. Yeah, that was it. Because you know what? Because I know you too, and I'm like, man, you could be right up there doing stuff. But once again, I know that you're also being a dutiful producer.
Mhm. The other thing I was thinking is that I want to grab more comments off the live feed.
Oh God,
because that's helpful
That's
to him.
another thing I was going to say.
But that's like another sort of thing to pop back and forth
Right.
between, and I can't always be looking at it. So I want to get better at that though, because I feel like that's something I could do.
Another observation I made as I was taking my walk while a goose was trying to bite me tonight. Yes, is that was welcome and cool, and that was something that gives him gives
Feedback
you
that
balls
people
to
are
pitch at
hearing.
him that he can hit.
Mhm.
You know, totally. That is a good one. That was good. Definitely more of that. I thought it was good. So yes, and actually I was going to.
So now that we've broken down someone else's podcast behind their back, totally.
No, what do you mean, Jerry's?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I didn't.
No, but
rip
I
his
just
podcast. I was just listening to the small things. Believe me, I could listen to any one of mine that I do afterwards, and I do constantly. And I'm like, God, what did I do there? 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 Believe me, no. This is not. It's not being critical. I love Jerry's podcast. I want to be on it, but you know, I've been in the business a little bit. I know a little bit about.
No, I know. I just was interested.
But I was also going to do this off the air, but then actually this is really helpful to do it right on the air because that way I've saved a unit of time. So that is good. People should listen to the podcast today, and a lot of Lego-centric stuff, which I think is great because that's something that you can riff on forever. The fact that we've got a government now who has put into evidence somebody's Lego collection. It's
unbelievable.
Yeah, and also I was when you mentioned that adults do Legos, it's like I would delve deeper into that too.
Oh, we got a lot of comments on the live feed about that too. People were very into that topic actually. Because people were talking about stuff, and this is the real stuff, but there were a whole bunch of people talking about how much money they've blown on Lego sets for their kids and how expensive they are. People were saying that they could have paid their kids college with the number of Legos they have now sitting in big Tupperware bins in their basement.
I can't believe people are doing this, and of course we have them too. I don't want them in my house anymore. I would like this thief to come and steal them all because they drive me crazy.
We don't buy the really high end. We don't buy the multiple hundreds of dollar ones.
I don't get the ones that are like a huge spaceship from the Avengers that are $400 that the kids put together once and put them in their rooms. And
adults put them together.
Yeah, no.
Or sometimes, I did see that one family from the town we used to live in on Facebook, and they bought the $700 Harry Potter Diagon Alley mega set and put it together as a family, which made me mad at them.
Okay. So I want to get to something else that we talked about today together that we talked about wrongly.
We talk about rewriting history. Let's talk about rewriting history. We've got Republican governors across this country pretending they didn't shut down their states, that they didn't close their beaches, that they didn't mandate masks, that they didn't issue shelter in places. Now, I'm not picking fights with Republican governors. All I'm saying is that we need leaders with grit, that their first instinct is to make the right decision, that they don't backtrack and then try to fool you into the fact that they never made the wrong decision. So demand...
So you mentioned this today and kind of outlined it for me.
So she had issued an apology.
Well,
That's
hold
what
on.
I noticed.
But you and I talked about it,
Mm-hmm.
and we mentioned, I was thinking Charlie Baker.
Mm-hmm.
But subsequently found out that she was targeting DeSantis. That was all
I mean,
about
that
DeSantis.
kind of makes sense,
And
but
my moles from the Commentary magazine all said, yeah, this is an absolute blatant hit at DeSantis because
she's jealous that he's getting attention.
Right, and they're both running for president, and she's trying to take shots at him right now, and because he did kind of shut down, or really he told businesses they could do what they want, but it's a cheap shot because there's 4 people in her state, and Florida's a huge state.
I mean, her state also, though, by the way, I mean, just in terms of raw numbers of, like, deaths per number of people is very high and near the top, and Florida is not, even though they have a very old population and her state doesn't. So, I mean, like, I mean, on the lockdown thing, like, obviously now I'm anti, like, mask and lockdown, but I also think there was a moment at the beginning of this thing when it made sense to take certain protective measures, right?
Yes.
And he protected his nursing homes, which was a really big deal. Like, so, you know, because at that point we didn't have tests. We didn't have any treatments that we knew worked. In fact, the treatments that we thought worked at the time, like ventilators, were the wrong thing to be doing. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know, but you're right. We were thinking she was leaning more towards the like squish Republican governors, like
Larry
Baker and
Baker.
Hogan. Yeah. But yeah, she did like issue some apology and say like, "Oh, I wasn't trying to criticize governors in particular. I was just like talking about leadership in general or whatever." Which that was what bothered me more than like who in particular she's going after, is like, if you're going to start shooting people, then just own it. You know what? Like, don't like.
Totally.
And it reminds me of the trans bill thing when she like went for it, and then she was like, "No, I don't know." Like, and her reasons, I guess, like could be argued, but it's just sort of like you can't have it both ways a little bit.
Yeah, it seems
you know
like
what I mean? Like, if you're gonna go after Ron DeSantis, then now you have to be enemies with Ron DeSantis. You can't go after Ron DeSantis and then pretend you didn't, or like he wouldn't find out about it because you were on TV. He was probably at the event. Everyone knows. So what I mean.
And you're right. I think that's a weak look. If you're gonna act like, if you're gonna have the veneer of a tough guy, kind of like Kamala Harris. If you're gonna have a veneer of a tough guy, then you better back it up. Better not equivocate. It just seems totally low rent if you do. And somebody like DeSantis, the party right now is in love with Ron DeSantis.
Right. So suck up to him. Don't try and take him down.
Right.
I mean, like, didn't you learn that with Trump? I don't know. But yeah, so South Dakota in deaths per million population is 10th and Florida is 26th. And that's not age adjusted.
Wow.
So, like, you can argue with Ron DeSantis a lot, but I mean, just in terms of, like, how many people died, he did a lot better. South Dakota, in fact, did, like, really not that well because they didn't even have that initial really bad first wave. That was all, like, since that, you know?
Right.
They're not one of these northeastern states where we had that. That's all the top ones are New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, those guys, so.
So I like her. I think she's telegenic, to say the least.
I like her too, but it rubbed me the wrong way.
I don't think, like, I know that you're a huge Lauren Boebert fan, but this whole I'm a kick-ass gal with a pink gun and a cowboy hat stuff, for me, with the Republican women, I'm over it. I'm sort of, I mean, I still find it sexy, I guess, but it's not really original in the presentation of that. Maybe it's because we live in the Northeast and it's just not the kind of thing we do. But I mean, I appreciate some, but I get it. Okay, I get it.
It doesn't necessarily, like, I don't have a problem with it per se in and of itself, but the way it gets done sometimes seems a little fake.
Yeah.
Like, it seems put on for show. And, like, Madison Cawthorn, same thing.
Oof.
Like, he's the male version of that, though.
Yes. You know who he is? He's also got some Kamala, too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this guy loves making history references and has zero accurate information. It's incredible. There's not a rake this guy doesn't... I was going to say step on, which is not what I should say.
He doesn't drive over.
Right. Let's just get away from this metaphor completely, Alice. It's not getting any more comfortable. Anyway, I appreciate he's a very good-looking young man.
I
is. Just wish that, just stand there and be good-looking, okay, Madison? There's no...
Do what and be good looking?
Oh, damn. Stand up, Chuck. Oh, they're standing up for you now, Chuck. That's who I am. Tom Biden here. I work as an art dealer. Okay, back to Jen Psaki and the Cuban situation.
There's every indication.
Oh, no. We'll start right here.
Cuba, you're talking today about how some of these protests are inspired by people exhausted with the government. Why is it that yesterday the State Department was saying that this was all happening out of concern about rising COVID cases?
Well, I would say first that the protests were just happening yesterday. We're still assessing what is...
Well, but the State Department made their evaluation yesterday of what was going on. Mm-hmm. Oh, it was too early to know. Well, then why did they know?
Motivating and, of course, and driving all of the individuals who came to the streets. But we know that when we say exhaustion, the manner by which the people of Cuba are governed, that can cover a range of issues, whether it's economic suppression, media suppression, lack of access to health and medical supplies, including vaccines. There are a range of reasons and voices we're hearing from people on the ground who are protesting.
So when these protesters are yelling freedom and enough, there are people within the administration who think they're saying freedom from rising COVID cases.
Again, I would say that when people are out there in the streets protesting and complaining about the lack of access to economic prosperity, to the medical supplies they need, to a life they deserve to live, that can take on a range of meanings. There's a global pandemic right now. Most people in that country don't have access to vaccines. That certainly is something we'd love to help with.
But wait, honey, I thought they had such a wonderful healthcare system and were doing so well with COVID because of their amazing universal health care. Mm-hmm. And with their amazing biotech industry, they had developed multiple vaccine candidates, including several with efficacy over 90%, like our vaccines. I thought they were doing really well with COVID. That's what I had been told. But apparently not. Apparently they managed the COVID right into total poverty and disaster for their entire population because people apparently have no food, have no ability to get medical care, and don't have any vaccines.
Other than the food and medical care and vaccines, Alice, it's a perfect society.
But maybe it's our embargo. That's probably what
That's right. Trump did it. Trump did it because he wouldn't shake hands with Raul Castro. Well, Obama went to a baseball game with him. Oh, what a time that would be.
I think to lay out the moral case for why denying the right to vote is a form of suppression and a form of silencing, and how he will redouble his commitment to use...
This is about, I should have waited on this one. This is about Biden talking tomorrow, so he's going to tell the world that Jim Eagle is happening, and it's everywhere, and he's going to tell black people, Native Americans, and Asians, and Latinx people that the white nobility is stealing elections from them, and that they're disenfranchised by haters and racism. Very healthy.
Using every tool at his disposal to continue to fight to protect the fundamental right of Americans to vote against the onslaught of voter suppression laws based on a dangerous and discredited conspiracy theory.
Voter suppression laws.
That culminated in an assault on our Capitol. He'll call out the greatest irony of the...
This is wonderful that she's tying this to the Capitol, tied to white supremacy. You see, it's all tied with... These people are psychotics.
So, speaking of voter suppression bills, Texas, as you know, has been in the process of trying to pass a voter suppression bill. And do you remember when Scott Walker was trying to pass the union stuff in Wisconsin, and they all fled the state and were like hiding out in a hotel, all the Democrats?
Yes, they went to Rockport, Illinois.
To break quorum.
Jim Rockford,
the Texas
Illinois.
Democrats are breaking quorum to save our democracy, honey. They're taking steps. So if they have to leave the state, actually. So if they stay within the state, law enforcement can go get them and make them show up to do a quorum. They're not allowed to just on purpose not have a quorum. So they have gotten themselves all into a chartered plane with no masks on. They've been tweeting out pictures of themselves. They're all in the chartered plane together. There were cases of Miller Lights in the plane
Oh,
with
beautiful,
them.
beautiful.
With them. Here's what one state rep tweeted. My Democratic colleagues and I are leaving the state to break quorum and kill the Texas voter suppression bill. We're flying to D.C. to demand Congress pass the For the People Act and save our democracy. Good trouble.
Oh, my God. Oh,
Wait, we're not
God.
done. That was 4 hours ago. But just 2 hours ago, he tweeted, just landed in Memphis on our way to D.C. Thank y'all for your well wishes. We left... Sorry. We left behind our families, our livelihoods, and our beloved Texas.
Oh, my God. My God. How many Miller Lite empties are there in the aisles?
A lot. But our sacrifice is nothing compared to the sacrifices brave Americans have made throughout history to protect the sacred right to vote.
Oh, my God. What patriots. This is incredible. Oh, jeez. You know what? Okay, we need wave motion gun, wherever you are from the Argo right now in space. You need to destroy this planet. We need to, this planet, this experiment is over. This planet needs to be destroyed.
Big lie is that no election in
The
our
big
history
lie-
has met such a high standard.
They've all branded it. They all use it. Democrats use it. The media use it. Dummies use it. Callers
Maybe
I
they
get on
shouldn't
TIC
be
get it.
doing like Nazi
Yeah,
things?
it's been overwritten now. This is the new big lie. This is the big lie. And it's funny, they're using a term, a Goebbels term, in the same way Goebbels used it. They think that they're labeling what Trump did,
Right.
the big lie, but no, what they're doing is mirroring the big lie, including scapegoating an entire demographic of human beings. Great party. Great party. Congratulations, Democrats. That is great for you. Now, about those troublesome flags in Cuba.
Recently, the New York Times described the American flag as alienating to some, but we've seen these Cuban protesters flying the American flag as a symbol for freedom. We saw it in Hong Kong as well. So does the administration support international protesters flying the American flag, and what message do you have to Americans who are wary of flying it here in the U.S.?
Well, I would say first, the president certainly values and respects the symbol of the American flag. He's someone who certainly waves it outside of his house or does in Delaware and other places where he's lived throughout his time. But he also believes that people have the right to peaceful protests, and he thinks both can be true.
Biden did, after a day of silence, did come out with a fairly strong statement on Cuba today, which is, serviceable. He didn't. I had a guest on the other radio show today that said that he at no point did he bring up Marxism or communism there. And why do we think that is?
Because he doesn't want to piss off all the Marxists and communists who voted for him?
Well, and who work at the Capitol, including AOC and Bernie Sanders and all those other folks. He just submitted those words. Imagine President DeSantis, the targeted language he would use. Because this punk president of Mexico, I forgot his last name, he's telling people to get in the streets and beat down protesters.
Right.
I mean, these guys are, the Cuban authoritarian government is vicious.
I mean, I've seen reports that they're just shooting people at
Yeah,
this point.
I've seen
and what
something
people they take alive are just going to rot in prisons forever now.
Right.
Like, that's, like, it's sort of, like, trite that we share the videos where they're saying freedom and waving the American flag, but those people might never be seen alive again that are doing that. When you march like that, that's serious. Like, the trouble that you get in is different than the trouble you get
Is that
in
good
here.
trouble? Is that like the people in that plane right now? Is that the same?
They're in the
thing?
same amount of danger, I would say.
Miller Lights. Cases of Miller Lights.
Their sacrifices are nothing.
I think somebody spied a Miller Lite in this show, Alice. Oh,
A
that
Miller
was the
High
Miller High
Life.
Life. That's right. That was the champagne of beers. I had it. I think there's one left in the house. Not for long, though, Albie. And that's the rest of the story. Anything else?
Just that in London, at a library in London, they had a very innovative children's literacy Hour, I guess, kind of
I hope there was
inspired
some
by
kink.
Drag Queen Story Hour, in which a person in a rainbow monkey costume with a bare butt on it, when he turned around...
I don't like monkeys, or especially bare-butted monkeys.
What about rainbow bare-butted monkeys?
I'll give an exception.
What about rainbow bare-butted monkeys with a giant dildo dangling between their legs that bounces around when they dance around to teach the kids literacy?
Is that not child appropriate? I don't know.
What's incredible is that, so like the library and stuff did eventually apologize when there was like huge outrage, but it's incredible that nobody like at the time was like, this isn't what we thought we were hiring. I mean, like,
the more it hurts us as parents, the more noble we must be. Hang in there, little Johnny. Try not to avert your eyes.
Well, I think like the parents did complain, but I can't believe like the library staff wasn't like, is this really what we ordered? Like, should we?
Is this the traditional role of libraries? Should I be shushing somebody? Wasn't that used to be a library thing? Wow, I'll tell you.
Learn to read programs have changed a lot, I would say, in the last few years. I don't know. They're different now.
Alice, times have changed.
I guess
times have changed, I believe. Although that is how I remember the library when I was a kid.
Explains a lot about you, to be honest.
Yes, it does.
Glad you're here so we can get this all straightened out. Would you like a cup of tea?
You got any coffee?
Coffee?
Yeah, coffee.
No, I don't drink coffee.
Yeah, you don't drink coffee? How about instant coffee?
No, I don't have...
You don't have any instant coffee?
Well, I don't normally...
Who doesn't have instant coffee?
I don't.
Of course, this is Mr. Bookman from Seinfeld. You know this, right, Alice?
I don't know that I do.
Alice? Alice?
Oh, is this a library thing where the book is gone?
Yes.
The inspector or whatever?
Yes.
Okay, I do remember that episode.
Yes, we remember this episode,
I remember
Alice.
it.
Or we are, you know what? That's divorce worthy right there.
Sorry, I did remember it eventually.
Okay.
You buy a jar of Folgers crystals, you put it in a cupboard, you forget about it. And later on, when you need it, it's there. It lasts forever. It's freeze-dried. Freeze-dried crystals.
Freeze-dried crystals.
Really, I'll have to remember that.
You took this book out in 1971.
Yes, and I returned it in 1971.
Yeah, 71. That was my first year on the job. Bad year for libraries. Bad year for America. Hippies burning library cards. Abby Huffman telling everybody to steal books. I don't judge a man by the length of his hair or the kind of music he listens to. Rock was never my bag. But you put on a pair of shoes when you walk into the New York Public Library, fella.
Look, Mr. Bookman. I returned that book. I remember it very specifically.
You're a comedian. You make people laugh.
I try.
You think this is all a big joke, don't you?
No, I don't.
I saw you on TV once. I remembered your name from my list. I looked it up. Sure enough, it checked out. You think because you're a celebrity that somehow the law doesn't apply to you, that you're above the law?
Certainly not.
Well, let me tell you something funny, boy. You know that little stamp? The one that says New York Public Library? Well, that may not mean anything to you, but that means a lot to me. One whole hell of a lot. Sure, go ahead, laugh if you want to. I've seen your type before. Flashy, making the scene, flaunting convention. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. What's this guy making such a big stink about all library books? Well, let me give you a hint, Junior. Maybe we can live without libraries. People like you and me, maybe.
You'd be a good library
we're too old
cop.
to change the world. What about that kid sitting down, opening a book right now in a branch of the local library and finding drawings of peepees and wee-wees?
I agree with
the Cat in the Hat and the 5 Chinese brothers. Doesn't he deserve better? Look, if you think this is about overdue fines and missing books, you better think again. This is about that kid's right to read a book without getting his mind warped. Or maybe that turns you on, Seinfeld. Maybe that's how you get your kicks. You and your good time buddies.
Seinfeld is barely keeping his composure during this episode.
A flash for you, Joy Boy. Party time is over. You got 7 days, Seinfeld. That is 1 week.
So on that note, we'll leave you. Find us on Twitter at BurnBarrelPod, Facebook.com/BurnBarrelPodcast. We are also at BurnBarrelPodcast.com. You can send us an email, BurnBarrelPodcast@gmail.com. We're on YouTube, Tom Shattuck's Burn Barrel. Over there, we're on Parler and Gab at Burn Barrel Podcast. You can find us all those places. Leave us a review, leave us a comment, all those good things.